Pablo had been fighting for me and blocking love letters since we were kids, and we agreed that once we got into college, we would be together. Everyone thought we would end up as a perfect couple, until he broke his promises again and again for someone else, saying I was just a childhood friend. Later, his roommate posted a photo of me holding someone's hand on his moments, and Pablo came to question me with reddened eyes. I found it funny. Just a childhood friend, right? Do I need to report my love life to you too? Chapter 1. On the 7th day of giving Pablo the silent treatment, he waited for me downstairs at the dorm building. He walked me to the teaching building and then proudly pulled out a big craft paper bag from inside his jacket like it was treasure. It was from my favorite bakery, more than 30 kilometers from school, a distance that even courier runners refused to take. The sun was just rising, and behind Pablo, the leaves of the mango tree were still dotted with water droplets. I couldn't help but frown. With last night's heavy rain, who told you to drive out? Worried about me? Pablo raised an eyebrow, his tone a little playful. You're worried about me after ignoring me for so many days and making me coax you first? Last week, Pablo and I had a fight, and I hadn't gone to him for an entire week. He hadn't come to me either, until today. I pressed my lips together. Nobody asked you to coax me. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. I want to. I'm dying to. Is that okay? As he said that, he blinked his pretty, fox-like eyes and made a pitiful expression to surrender. He knew I always fell for that. For someone who hated rainy days, just driving through the rain to buy the things I liked was enough to melt my heart. I can't finish this much. Who are you feeding? Pigs? My mouth complained softly, but I still reached out to take the heavy bag. It was the sign that I was softening and agreeing to reconcile, with the tacit understanding of childhood sweethearts. He caught on quickly. I bought enough for your whole dorm. He pushed his luck, reaching out to smooth the loose strands of my hair. Just a thank you gift for taking care of my Lisa. I tilted my head away, feeling a little awkward. Who belongs to you? Whoever gets shy. My ears warmed, and I stopped talking. Pablo leaned a little closer, his tone softening. You're not mad anymore, right? I'll pick you up after class. He caught the gap and rubbed my head, and this time, I didn't dodge. I'd softened, my tone softened too. Then don't stand me up again. I won't. He took off his watch and placed it in my hand. I'm going to play basketball later. Keep it for me. It was the watch I gave him for his birthday last year. Pablo raised an eyebrow. This is a very important watch. Take good care of it. The morning sunlight was gentle, as if it softened something inside me too. Smiling, I nodded at Pablo. Got it. I'll wait for you after class. The bell rang, and I said goodbye to Pablo before walking alone toward my classroom. I'd only taken a few steps when I ran into my roommates Emma and Zoe. Pablo's doing well, sending you breakfast and escorting you to class, Emma teased, winking at me. Men really do need to be trained from childhood. Lisa, are you and Pablo officially together now? A sudden voice cut Emma off. Chapter 2. Zoe, who had been silently walking beside us, suddenly spoke. Because Pablo said you two were just childhood friends. So, she didn't finish her sentence, but it felt as though she had completely said what she meant. Zoe had never gotten along well with me. She was the dorm leader, yet whatever announcements she made, I always learned them late from other roommates. She didn't like me, but clothes identical to mine would always appear on her every few weeks. I could never figure out why. But last month, when Pablo walked me back to the dorm, we ran into Zoe downstairs. She tripped on flat ground, and Pablo helped her up, just from her blushing thank you. Too shy to lift her head. I immediately understood. There had always been many people who liked Pablo. Turns out she was one of them. Emma had originally been holding Zoe by the arm. After hearing Zoe's words, she suddenly let go with a frown. Emma spoke more directly than I did. Zoe, you're being kind of weird. Why would Pablo specifically tell you that? Are you too close or something? Not really, Zoe pouted slightly. We're in the same small group in our department. It just came up in conversation. Actually, he rarely talks about Lisa. Come to think of it, I had heard Zoe's name from Pablo recently. He said Zoe always acted timid around people, not very outgoing. He even complained that she was clumsy, couldn't even make a poster for an event yet still joined the arts department. I thought it was normal, Not everyone was born knowing every skill. So I said, then help her out. Aren't you two in the same group? A faintly irritated expression appeared on Pablo's face. Troublesome. Pablo had always disliked troublesome people. He had rejected many girls of that quiet type. I didn't think Zoe would be anything special in front of him, so I wasn't planning to take the bait. But Zoe didn't intend to let it go, tugging at me insistently. But Pablo really is a great person. Last Wednesday, I went to tutor someone. I couldn't get a ride afterward, so he came to pick me up. I froze. Last Wednesday afternoon, Pablo stood me up. He said he wanted to eat the mango custard pastry I made, so I made a special trip home. After working for hours, I carried the handmade dessert through the rain to his dorm, but he had completely forgotten about it and wasn't even there. In the end, Bruno came downstairs to take it, and he even scolded me. Only an idiot would deliver things in the rain. Zoe shook my arm lightly, pulling me back from my thoughts. Don't misunderstand, okay? Pablo helped me, so I just care about my group member. That's all. You're overthinking it. I won't misunderstand. I quietly shook off her hand. Your group member bought bread for you too. What flavor do you like? She paused for a moment. Red bean. Oh, I closed the bag of bread. He didn't buy that. I'm allergic to red bean. Chapter 3. Near the end of class. Emma finally leaned over after holding it in all morning. Girl, someone's about to steal your man. She made a sarcastic expression and mimicked Zoe's tone. I'm just caring about my group member. Everyone in the department knows about you and Pablo. What's wrong with that girl, trying to steal her roommate's crush? Pablo and I were childhood sweethearts, everyone knew that. After the college entrance exam, Pablo and I were interviewed by the media together. When asked which university he wanted to apply to, Pablo pointed at me beside him. Wherever she goes, I'll go. That interview went viral online. And when we entered college, during my speech as the freshman representative, people recognized me at a glance. Everyone just assumed Pablo and I were already together. But we weren't, even though we had once made a promise. Some promises, once left unspoken for too long, seemed to lose their timing. But I always thought, maybe wait a little longer, have a little more faith in each other. In the afternoon, it started raining again. I waited nearly an hour under the teaching building. Pablo didn't come, and he didn't reply to my messages. He stood me up again, without reason. I checked the time and called Pablo for the 4th time. With every extra ring, my heart sank a little deeper. Right before the call was about to disconnect, he finally answered. Lisa? He paused. I can't pick you up today, sorry. There it was again. He was the one who made the plan, and yet he broke it without a word of explanation. I suddenly remembered what Zoe said, that the last time he didn't show up, he went to pick her up. The emotion rose inside me out of nowhere. Pablo, you were the one who said you'd come today. Why do you stand me up every single time? Maybe it was because the accusation in my voice was too obvious. But on the other side of the phone, Pablo clicked his tongue impatiently. Pablo had never had a particularly good temper. With others, he always acted distant and arrogant. But somehow, this was the first time he clearly showed impatience toward me. My voice softened instinctively. Pablo, you promised me. I really forgot. He sighed. Tomorrow. I'll definitely be with you tomorrow. Okay? His tone was helpless, like I was the one being unreasonable. My throat tightened. But today, Pablo, how do I fasten this seatbelt? A car door opened on the other side of the call, and then a familiar voice slid into my ear. It was Zoe. She had skipped class early to go tutor. The rain was getting heavier. The person on the phone said something else, but I no longer heard it clearly. I had wanted to say, but today is my mother's death anniversary. You've accompanied me every year. But he had clearly forgotten. A sudden fear rose in my chest, as if something I had been holding onto was slipping away. I gripped my phone and hung up with a messy gesture. The ringtone soon rang again, drowned in the sound of the rain. I didn't know how long passed before the screen dimmed and a message from Pablo appeared. Stop being upset. I really have something urgent this time. I'll explain tomorrow. Bruno is in the academic area. I asked him to pick you up. I froze inside, and quickly started typing. I was still writing my refusal when footsteps approached from not far away. Bruno, dressed in black and holding an umbrella, walked toward me quickly. I glanced at my phone. The message had been sent only 7 minutes ago. When I looked up again, the man who had been 10 meters away was already standing at the steps. Why are you spacing out? Get over here. His clear yet lazy voice pulled me instantly back to that summer full of cicada songs. Chapter 4. Bruno transferred to our school from the neighboring city on the day of Licia, the start of summer. In our second year of high school, after a monthly exam, he became my desk mate. Unlike those idle drama storylines, the only strong bond we developed seemed to be in academics. This month I got first place. Next month he would pull several all-nighters just to surpass me. Bruno was competitive and sharp-tongued, but his math was unbelievably good. So I swallowed my pride and asked him questions. He looked at me with disdain. If you stopped running to the next class to find your little childhood sweetheart, you wouldn't be making mistakes on problems this easy. I originally thought we would always stay like that. Until 2 months before the college entrance exam, I received the class yearbook he filled out for me, and inside it was a single button, the one closest to his heart on his school uniform. I was dazed, thinking this guy must be trying to mess with my mindset, steal my first place ranking. Don't think this will make me go easy on you and let you take the top scorer spot. I didn't dare accept it. Laughing awkwardly, I pushed the yearbook back onto his desk. Sure, I'll wait to be defeated by you. Bruno's tone was lazy as he slid the yearbook back in front of me. When I tried to push it back again, Bruno grabbed my wrist. Bruno, you know I didn't finish. But Bruno understood. I know, I'm going back tomorrow to take the exam. He let go of me, stubbornly placing the yearbook in front of me again, his expression more serious than ever. Lisa, this is as far as I can go. You have to allow someone without a childhood sweetheart to have their own youth too. Bruno packed away the last book and smiled at me. His 2 sharp canine teeth peeked out faintly. If you don't want it, throw it away. Good luck on the exam. Back then, I thought we'd never see each other again, because he had said he preferred southern cities. North City was too dry for him. Who would have thought? He stayed in North City and even became Pablo's roommate. Chapter 5. Bruno's car was clean and tidy, filled with the light scent of sea salt and pine. He started the car but only tilted his head to look at me. I thought he was waiting for me to say something. Sorry. I didn't know Pablo would ask you. I didn't mean to make you run over here. Bruno blinked and said plainly and directly. Don't apologize for him. I didn't come because of him. Bruno was so straightforward I didn't dare respond. As I froze, a shadow fell over me, and the scent of sea salt and pine surrounded me. Instinctively, I raised my hand to block my face, yet Bruno stopped at a perfectly polite distance. Then I heard the click of the seatbelt locking. What's wrong? Bruno seemed to chuckle softly. I thought you were going to kiss me. I thought you were going to hit me. Awkwardly, I put my hand down. The rain outside the window was growing heavier, but Bruno drove the car out of the school. Where are we going? I asked. Aren't we going to North Mountain Cemetery? He typed it into the GPS. I remember it's always this day every year. I was stunned. How did you know? Bruno didn't answer directly. He smoothly turned the steering wheel and drove onto the ring highway. When we filled out the forms in high school, I saw it by accident. Every year on this day, you take leave, and the next day you always seem distracted, staring at your necklace nonstop. The necklace was my mother's keepsake. I had never told Bruno about this, and I never imagined he had noticed. Maybe seeing me dazed for too long, Bruno freed one hand to lightly pat my head. You made a promise. If you don't go, she'll be sad. Chapter 6. When we left the cemetery, night had already fallen, and the rain had gradually stopped. Bruno leaned against the car window smoking. When he saw me coming, he hurriedly put it out with a hint of panic. I was surprised. You smoke too? Top student? Started in senior year of high school. Trying to get first place was stressful. Bruno raised an eyebrow. You have no idea how hard you were to chase. Because of that one sentence, I didn't dare say a word the entire way back. Even when Bruno added, I meant academically, while I pretended to play with my phone like a timid quail. I came across a new post on Zoe's Moments. It was a picture of her making a wish with her eyes closed, in front of a delicate pink swan cake, the same bakery as the one Pablo bought from in the morning. First time in my life someone remembered my birthday. I'm so happy. I didn't like the post. I exited moments immediately. Back to WeChat. No new messages. No missed calls. Suppressing the sour ache in my chest, I turned off my phone. A while later, the car stopped at the dorm building. I thanked Bruno. I'll treat you to a meal another day. No. Bruno tapped the steering wheel with his finger, rejecting me without hesitation. I don't want to have dinner with someone whose heart already belongs to someone else. Oh. I choked on my words. Unable to reply, I unbuckled my seatbelt and prepared to get out. The moment I opened the door, a strong hand pulled my arm back. My eyes were covered by a warm, dry palm, and the car door closed with a soft thud. In the next second, Bruno's voice came from right beside me. Is that all the sincerity you have? Not going to try inviting me again? The scent of sea salt filled the small space. The distance between us felt ambiguous. Yet all I sensed was his protective gentleness. I patted the back of his hand. Don't cover my eyes. I already saw. Under the big tree not far away, Zoe was hugging Pablo. Pablo was holding something, a square pink box that looked very much like a birthday cake. He didn't hug her back, but he didn't push her away either. A second before Bruno covered my sight, Zoe had lifted herself on tiptoe to kiss him. In the darkness, I blinked, and tears surged out without warning. Bruno hurriedly cupped his hand under my eyes to catch them, while his other hand searched for tissues. I stared at the lines of his palm as my vision grew blurrier and blurrier. I didn't know how long it took before he was still holding that position, catching my tears. The scene felt almost comical to me, so I gently pushed his hand away and changed the subject. Bruno, your lifeline is so long. He wiped my tears and then spread his hand in front of me again. Really? Then read my love line too. Am I getting some romance soon? Chapter 7. When I returned to the dorm, Zoe was already dividing the cake. Her cheeks were red, unable to hide her excitement. It had only been half a day since I last saw her, yet she seemed much more cheerful. When she saw me, she hurried over impatiently. Lisa, today's my birthday, but the cake is red bean flavored, so I won't give you any. She blinked meaningfully. It's not suitable for you. I don't think you should force yourself. To be honest, I was never good at dealing with moments like this, competing in secret over a man, yet unable to put anything into words, because I had no standing. After all, I was just Pablo's childhood sweetheart. Suddenly, I started hating Pablo. We clearly agreed, once we got into college, we would be together, and I hated myself too. I'd hinted at that promise again and again, yet he showed no real reaction, and I foolishly stayed by his side, drinking poison by lingering in that ambiguous half-romantic distance. I didn't respond to Zoe. After washing up, I went to bed. I had barely laid down when the curtain of my bed was pulled open. Zoe stood there with a provocative smile. Lisa, can I ask you what Pablo likes? He celebrated my birthday with me. I want to buy him a gift. The incandescent light passed through the curtain, making my head throb. I yanked her hand off my curtain and said coolly, he's into Park Street sneakers lately. Can you afford them? Zoe froze. Her eyes reddened instantly. She turned and ran back to her bed. When Zoe's eyes turned red, I felt a flash of vindictive satisfaction, but even more self-disgust. Why was I becoming such a mean person because of Pablo? I didn't sleep the entire night. I stayed in bed for the whole weekend. Emma came back from outside and dumped a pile of things on my desk. Pablo left these for you. He's waiting downstairs. Before Emma finished the sentence, Zoe rushed to the balcony. Compared to the cautious testing last time, she wasn't hiding anything at all now. Emma climbed up and slipped into my bed curtain. What did he do now? Don't tell me you really got your man stolen? I wiped my swollen eyes, leaning on Emma's shoulder, and shook my head. Probably. Emma patted my head. Cry for what? Bye-bye means bye-bye. The next one will treat you better. On my phone lay Pablo's messages. He had sent many in the past few days. I hadn't replied. The latest one was from 2 hours ago. I'm here to take back the watch. You don't want to give it back? Who takes back something once they've given it? Suppressing my headache, I got up to wash my face. On my way downstairs, I heard 2 girls going upstairs whispering. They probably thought their voices were quiet, but I heard every word clearly. Pablo's downstairs. He's been waiting so long even passing dogs feel awkward for him. Pretty girls always have a bit of a temper. As soon as I walked out of the dorm, Pablo came toward me, frowning. Princess, can you stop ignoring me all the? Here's your watch. I cut him off and handed the watch over. Pablo didn't take it. If you don't want it, I'll throw it away. I walked toward the trash can, but Pablo stopped me. Don't make trouble, Lisa. I can explain what happened that day. Zoe had an emergency. What does her situation have to do with me? My headache was getting worse, and my tone was terrible. Pablo looked at me with disbelief. She's your roommate. How can you be so cold? His expression and tone felt completely unfamiliar. Just because I didn't celebrate a roommate's birthday, was that such a huge crime? Pablo, our department has a meeting soon. Can you take me with you? Zoe had come downstairs at some point. Pablo looked past me toward her. His tone was light. Okay. Wait a bit. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I checked it. It was a WeChat message. When are you planning to treat me to that meal? Bruno. I lowered my head and typed, you pick. His reply came fast. Then look to your right. I froze. Turning toward the right side of the dorm building, Bruno was holding up his phone, waving his arm at me with a smile. But the moment Pablo also looked over, Bruno's expression vanished instantly. I was about to walk toward him when Pablo grabbed my wrist. His tone unclear. You came downstairs because you have plans with Bruno? I shook off his hand. So what if I do? Pablo actually laughed. Go ahead. It's not like you even like him. His tone was so certain, like I would stand there waiting for him forever. But Pablo, I really don't want to like you anymore. Chapter 8. Bruno ordered a bowl of rice with toppings and left again. When he came back, he was carrying a small bag. Fever medicine or painkillers, see which one you need. He asked the owner for a cup of warm water and set it in front of me. After feeling my forehead, he quickly twisted open a pill of ibuprofen. Reduces fever and pain. Take it. I stared blankly, took it, and swallowed it with the water. How did you know I was sick? Bruno poured me another cup of warm water. Only after watching me finish drinking did he start eating his rice. Why don't you look at your eyelids? They're drooping like crazy. And your forehead is hot enough to fry an egg. Was it really that obvious? Then why did Pablo hold my hand earlier and not notice anything? I'm sorry, Bruno. I kind of used you just now. He wasn't sitting far. He definitely heard everything. Bruno looked up at me. As long as you're not avoiding me, you can use me however you want. Our eyes met, and I couldn't help but think of that day in the car. Bruno insisted I read his palm. I'd once heard that if the love line doesn't branch, it means a beautiful romance awaits. So I told him exactly that. Bruno raised an eyebrow slightly. So I'll have a good ending in love? I nodded. Curfew was approaching then, and I was about to say goodbye. But the car doors suddenly locked. Bruno arched a brow. You said you'd treat me to a meal. When? Didn't you say? I changed my mind. I froze. Why? He leaned in and unbuckled my seatbelt for me. His deep eyes locked onto mine. Because someone doesn't know how to cherish what I cherish. So I decided to take action myself. He leaned a little closer. Only then did I notice his ears were red. And because the person I like said my love will have a good ending. He blinked. So I want to try again. Those ambiguous words, I understood every single one. So I escaped in panic. Later, Bruno sent me 2 messages. Scared? You ran pretty fast. What's so scary? Liking you isn't anything rare. I never replied. Until today. Bruno reached out and lightly scratched my arm, continuing his effort. I'm not asking you to like me quickly. Just don't avoid me, okay? Like a breeze brushing over my skin. A ticklish feeling spread from the back of my hand to all my nerves. Okay or not? Bruno tilted his head, refusing to let it go. I surrendered. I wasn't avoiding you in the first place. Oh, good. A smile slowly spread at the corner of his lips. His gaze soft and tender. Chapter 9. Pablo and I fell into a cold war. He sent me a message explaining that Zoe had gone to tutor a kid that day, and the parent acted inappropriately toward her. Because it was urgent, he rushed over. I didn't reply, and Pablo didn't contact me again. Their arts entertainment department was busy with preparations for the graduation gala. I knew this from Zoe's moments. She always posted about Pablo, never hiding it from me. For example, Pablo's back during rehearsal, Pablo's hand during a meeting. Someone in the comments teased, "Oh, shots meant for someone special." Huh. Someone else screenshotted the posts and came asking what was going on, why Pablo was so close with Zoe. Everyone still thought Pablo and I were the actual couple. I could only repeat wearily, "We've never been together." Then I ended the conversation quickly. I was busy too, while others were finishing midterm assignments. I was already preparing for final exams. Apart from classes, I practically lived in the library. Bruno was always beside me. His reason, "Sitting next to you is the only way to max out my study motivation. Feels like being back in high school. If I zone out for a minute, you'll outrun me instantly. So for the sake of my GPA, you can't kick me away." As if I ever would. And so, we became study partners again, just like in high school. One day, after solving a problem set, I paused to rest. My phone lit up with a new message. From Bruno. "Look to your left." I found it funny, he was literally right next to me and still texted. So I turned my head and happened to meet Bruno's gaze perfectly. Bruno was resting his chin on his arms, watching me, blinking very slowly. The sunset poured through the window, brushing over his hair. His whole head looked soft and glowing, as if covered in light. So he wanted me to see the sunset. My heartbeat stuttered, flustered. I passed him a grapefruit candy. Bruno put it into his mouth, instantly sat up straight, and very seriously started doing practice problems. That completely made me laugh. After studying, Bruno walked me back to the dorm. The moment I opened the door, I saw all my things swept off my desk and scattered on the floor. The crystal ball on my desk had been smashed into pieces. Pablo had given it to me. The culprit stood nearby, not thinking she had done anything wrong. Eyes red as she demanded, "Why did you report me to the professor for skipping class? He won't let me take the final exam now." I silently hung my bag and picked up the shattered crystal ball, tossing it into the trash can. The next second, with a cold expression, I walked to Zoe's desk and smashed everything on it, then grabbed her collar and warned coldly, "Zoe, if you're sick, go get treated. Just because I tolerated you doesn't mean I don't have a temper. How many times have you skipped class? How many assignments have you not turned in? How many volunteer hours have you faked? Don't you know your own record? Mess with me again, and I will report you to the faculty." I wasn't someone with a bad temper, but in the dorm I had never lost my cool. This was the first time. Zoe froze, terrified, stammering, You're bullying me." Under my stare, she finally fell silent, teary-eyed. But I had a strange feeling this wasn't over. Sure enough, 2 days later, a post appeared on the campus forum, an anonymous user describing being bullied by a roommate. The bully was a top student from the business school, the freshman who gave the opening ceremony speech. Everything was described so clearly that it might as well have been named after me. Comments from people who didn't know the truth were condemning me furiously. 2 more anonymous accounts joined in, saying expensive cars always picked me up. I even heard someone ask her how much per night. Obvious she's just selling herself. Fake academic girl. They even attached so-called photo evidence. I uploaded the car registration and a family photo in return. The car was mine. The so-called rich man was my dad. While the post was still going wild, Pablo suddenly came looking for me. Chapter 10. Inside the library, Pablo stormed up to me, without giving me a chance to react. He pulled me up and questioned me sharply. "Why did you report Zoe? Don't you know she's a financial aid student? If she fails the class, she'll lose her scholarship and her merit awards." The library was quiet, but Pablo's voice was anything but. Many people looked up. For a moment, I felt like a circus monkey on display. Humiliation burned through me, but I still forced myself to calm down and dragged Pablo out of the library. At least don't disturb people preparing for finals. Outside, Pablo questioned me again, though his tone was a bit softer this time. "You may hate Zoe, but that doesn't mean she's a financial aid student, so she can't be reported when she does something wrong?" I cut him off. "Zoe skipping class isn't new. She never contributes to group projects. Everyone in the grade knows this. But she still gets scholarships every time. Is that fair?" Pablo opened his mouth but couldn't respond. He was the one who said he hated people who stole others' hard work the most. After a long moment, he squeezed out a sentence. Even so, it shouldn't be you who reported her. I almost laughed. He didn't understand anything I meant. Somewhere along the way, communicating with Pablo became difficult. I didn't want to explain too much, but I also refused to be blamed for nothing. She gets the third-class scholarship. I've gotten first class every single year. I have zero desire to report her. Because she's close to me? Pablo frowned. She said you isolated her in the dorm and smashed her things. I saw the pictures. Pablo added helplessly. She and I aren't. When I heard Pablo say this, I couldn't believe it. After knowing me for so many years, he could redefine who I was based solely on someone else's gossip. Right at that moment, I felt utterly tired of Pablo. You believe everything she says? My cold tone made Pablo freeze. Pablo, do you not have a brain to think for yourself? Or in your eyes, am I the same as those girls from high school who liked you? Would I fight over you like they did? Stirring drama behind your back and bullying roommates? Pablo stiffened, pupils shrinking, as if something finally clicked. His face turned pale. He remembered that I was bullied because of him. At that age, liking Pablo was treated like a sin I had to pay for. Used pads thrown into my drawer, chalk dust poured into my water cup. Even in a strict, prestigious school, that was as far as they dared to go. I never cared too much. Pablo wasn't in my class. He always heard things late. Instead, it was Bruno who lost his temper, dumping the chalk dust back onto that girl's head in front of everyone. It caused a big scene, and Bruno was forced to do a public self-criticism. While Pablo stood frozen, I received a message from Bruno. I'm behind the lobby pillar. Reply 1 if you need me. And another message from Emma. She said the anonymous user's ID had been exposed overnight. The one spreading sexual rumors anonymously was also Zoe. Crying victim on one hand, fabricating slander with the other. Everything she said fell apart instantly. People weren't idiots. The comments shifted completely. I stopped caring about Pablo's reaction. I turned off my phone, inhaled deeply, and said, Pablo, I'm not that free, and you're not that important. I turned to leave, but Pablo blocked my path. He stared at me intensely, his tone urgent. What do you mean? What do you mean not that important? You like me, don't you? Chapter 11. How could I have never liked him? When kids in kindergarten mocked me for not having a mom, it was Pablo who chased them away. In high school, when a boy stuffed a love letter into my hand and tried to force me to be his girlfriend, it was also Pablo who stood in front of me. On every holiday when I missed my mother, he was the one who stayed with me. So even later, when he said he wanted to date me in college but then, in front of other girls, said we weren't getting together, I still quietly waited for him to remember our promise one day, even when he abandoned me countless times. As long as he did the smallest thing, I would soften countless times, even when we argued, and it seemed like he was coaxing me. In reality, it was always me carefully controlling my unreasonable behavior so it wouldn't really upset him. But from the day of my mother's death anniversary, I couldn't hold on anymore. I couldn't stand that loving someone had turned me into a version of myself that I hated. Pablo. I lifted my head to meet his gaze, speaking clearly and firmly. From the moment you left me that day to celebrate Zoe's birthday, letting her hug you and kiss you, I already stopped liking you. She was being bullied that day. Pablo frowned tightly, his tone frantic as he tried to explain. Her mom died giving birth to her. No one ever celebrated her birthday. So, then do you remember that day was also the anniversary of my mother's death? That was the saddest moment of my life. Pablo's face instantly turned pale, his body swaying as if he couldn't stand steady. Lisa. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. I didn't respond and prepared to leave. Pablo reached out, trying to grab my wrist, but I dodged quickly, not looking back as I walked straight into the library. Chapter 12. I walked a little too fast and was looking down at my phone to send Bruno a message. My foot slipped off the stair edge, just when I thought I was about to fall. An arm swept around my waist from behind and caught me. I landed in a light but steady embrace. The faint scent of sea salt and pine filled my nose. Bruno exhaled, panting lightly. Good thing I'm fast. I stared at the sweat at his temple, suddenly remembering high school. That time when a girl dumped chalk dust into my water cup and tripped me on the way back to my seat. Bruno had caught me the exact same way. Then he casually dumped the chalk-filled water onto the girl's head. When the teacher asked him why he did that to a girl, Bruno only responded coldly, "She was disturbing my studying." But he was never actually that harsh of a person. How did I stupidly believe that excuse at the time, and take his silent protection for granted? "What are you spacing out for?" Bruno waved a hand in front of my eyes. "I pull you back from falling and you're this touched." "Bruno, that real name exposure on the forum, was that you?" I vaguely remembered he had the skills for that. Bruno raised an eyebrow and let out an "Oh." "You might be called in by the school leadership. Who casually hacks the school forum system and rewrites it?" "I'm not scared. They won't catch me." Bruno's lips curved upward into a sly, triumphant smile. A warmth rose in my chest, and I suddenly hugged him tightly. "Thanks, my lifesaver." Bruno stiffened all over. After a long moment, he let out a muffled, "You're welcome." Chapter 13. For a long time afterward, Pablo never showed up again. Zoe also became completely quiet in the dorm. After finishing the last exam, I heard some news. No one had reported Zoe at all. The financial economics professor was a relative of the family she worked for as a tutor. Zoe stole something from their house and got caught on the spot. That's why she was dismissed. Emma shrugged. The surveillance footage shows everything. That family didn't even bother going after her. And because her repeated absences and missing assignments were real, the professor, already aware of her, decided not to let her take the exam. I froze. I remembered Pablo saying that Zoe had been harassed by the father of the household, but I no longer had the energy to figure out who was lying. It didn't matter anymore. At the graduation gala, Emma and I went backstage to deliver flowers to the senior students. As we passed by, we heard Pablo and Zoe arguing. "Pablo, why are you avoiding me lately?" "I don't like dealing with liars." Pablo let out a cold laugh. "Zoe, you really played me hard. All that talk about being bullied, being harassed. I was actually stupid enough to believe you and go confront Lisa for you. Then, do you not like me anymore?" "When did I ever say I liked you?" Pablo sounded irritated. "I only pitied you." Tears welled in Zoe's eyes. "You like Lisa, don't you?" I didn't stop walking, I just left. Who Pablo liked no longer mattered to me. He was never someone who knew how to cherish the person who liked him. Chapter 14. Pablo began pestering me endlessly, as if nothing had happened. He messaged me, waited downstairs at my dorm. Emma said seeing Pablo lingering downstairs felt like a ghost stuck in a loop. This was Pablo's usual tactic. In the past, as long as he stood there, I would run to him on my own, but now I stayed as far away as possible, with nowhere left to hide. I decided to pack up and escape. Just as I finished packing, I got a call from a senior in the student union I was close with. "Lisa, tonight we're having a farewell dinner for a few of us old members. Come join?" It's all familiar faces. Pablo and the others will be there too. I was also technically a member of the student union, one of those who wrote documents for points but barely attended meetings. The senior never minded and even always gave me full marks. So I didn't hesitate. Sure, it was my first time attending a student union gathering. I sat quietly in a corner, watching them play truth or dare, praying the bottle wouldn't land on me. My luck seemed decent, it kept landing on Pablo instead. First was a round of truth. "Is there someone you like here?" Pablo's eyes landed on me, and he answered cleanly, "Yes." The whole room erupted, teasing me. It was the first time Pablo publicly admitted liking me, but I didn't feel even a trace of happiness. I felt troubled. My first reaction was actually to look at another student union member. Bruno sat far away, watching me through the crowd, calm, quiet. Just like that, my heartbeat suddenly quickened. Pablo noticed my glance immediately. He followed my line of sight, disbelief flashing in his eyes. My phone lit up with a new WeChat message. From Bruno. Crying puppy. JPG. I couldn't help smiling and replied. The game continued. The third time the bottle pointed at Pablo. He chose dare. Confess to the person you like. With the previous rounds, everyone already knew what to expect. Before I could react, Pablo was pushed in front of me. He pressed his lips together, looking unexpectedly nervous. Just as he was about to speak, the entire room suddenly went dark. Is the power out? Use your phones. Flashlights. LMAO, I can't even find my phone in the dark. Someone go outside and check. In the midst of the chaos, a warm hand suddenly wrapped tightly around my wrist. That familiar pine sea salt scent approached, and Bruno's voice appeared right next to my ear. Want to come with me? In total darkness, my heartbeat was already out of control. Of course I wanted to. Before I could answer, Bruno's hand slid from my wrist to my palm, and our fingers interlaced tightly, with a strength that allowed no refusal. He pulled me into a summer night escape. Chapter 15. On the bench by the campus lake. Across the lake, on the lawn, the guitar club members were gathered, playing music. Bruno and I listened quietly like that, neither of us speaking, and our hands never separating. The phone ringing broke the strange harmony. I could pretty much guess who was calling. I wanted to mute it, so I tugged lightly at our slightly damp, intertwined hands. Bruno, let go first. Before I finished, Bruno's breath swept over me. Instinct moved faster than thought. I closed my eyes, like a fallen leaf landing on my lips. It was a light, feather-soft kiss, just resting there, unmoving, not crossing a line. But the moment I parted my lips, Bruno's tongue pressed in, a slow, lingering invasion. The phone kept ringing relentlessly. Bruno took a brief moment to reach into my pocket, pull out the phone, and silence it. I didn't know how long it was before I finally got to breathe again. Who told you could kiss me? I felt guilty even while pretending to protest. Didn't you agree? What? Bruno let out a soft laugh, forehead pressed against mine. He used his thumb to wipe the corner of my mouth. His low voice blended with the singing from across the lake. I thought we just eloped. Thump, thump, thump. My heartbeat grew faster, like it was about to jump out. Unbearably noisy. Bruno watched me quietly for a long time before speaking again. Lisa, would you consider liking me? Across the lake, someone reached the line from Wu Bai's Tears Bridge. Knowing you're also not good at confessing. In that moment, I realized Bruno was good at confessing. Whether it was the heart side button he gave me before graduation, or the confessions after we reunited, or now, direct, sincere, burning. Who could bring themselves to reject such a genuine, loyal little puppy? I didn't want to reject him, so I leaned forward and whispered, okay. Chapter 16. Bruno and I started dating. He was very unhappy about the fact that we had to separate soon after getting together, and even more unhappy that I still had to go eat with Pablo's whole family. Then, can I claim you as mine? If not, it's fine. I'm just asking. He drove me home, carefully hooking his pinky around mine to keep me from getting out of the car. I couldn't help laughing. Bruno, you're acting unlike yourself. Where was that cold, sharp-tongued deskmate I once had? Bruno raised an eyebrow and immediately accepted my teasing. This is the Bruno who finally got his crush version. Of course he's smug. He hooked our pinkies again. So, will you let me or not? I didn't answer with words. I simply took my phone, snapped a picture of our intertwined hands, and sent it to his phone. The photo soon appeared in Bruno's Moments, along with a side photo of me. I was wearing my high school uniform in it. Looked like it had been screenshotted from a video. I was about to ask him where he got the photo when Pablo suddenly burst into the private room. He threw his phone on the table and pulled me outside without a word. You're with Bruno now? His jaw was tight, his tone almost accusatory. I hadn't seen Pablo since that day he tried to confess. Bruno and I disappearing from the gathering at the same time made the answer obvious. Pablo's pride wouldn't allow him to lower his head again and again, so I thought the whole thing had already blown over. That when we met again, considering our families, we'd just get along normally. But before I could speak, Pablo frowned and said, Lisa, are you trying to get back at me? I found it funny. Of course not. I'd never treat Bruno like that. My quick, decisive tone stunned Pablo where he stood. Inside, the elders were murmuring, wondering what happened. I lifted my foot to go back in. Lisa, Pablo called out to me, his voice defeated. If I hadn't done what I did with Zoe, would things be different? I paused mid-step, but didn't answer. There are no ifs in this world. Chapter 17. Halfway through the vacation, the guaranteed graduate school list was released. Bruno and I were both on it with perfect GPAs. Pablo's grades weren't great, but under normal circumstances he still should have been fine. Our school had a high recommendation rate to begin with, but last semester, he scored extremely poorly in several courses and was directly kicked off the list. Even the professor's research group he had been part of no longer accepted him. I thought it wouldn't affect him much, after all. He had many other paths he could take. But one day, when I happened to go to his house to drop something off, I saw Pablo kneeling in the side hall. His dad didn't notice I had come in, and continued scolding him coldly. "Since you were little, you can't even compete with Lisa, a girl, and I'm always overshadowed by her father because of you. In high school, I paid for endless tutoring, you barely scraped into that class, while she was #1, and now you can't even get a guaranteed grad school spot. How am I supposed to count on you to win me any face?" Only then did I realize, Pablo's family environment wasn't as pleasant as I had thought, and his life wasn't as simple as it appeared. I set the things down and quietly left. Chapter 18. Right before the new semester, our high school homeroom teacher retired. The 2 classes he taught organized a gathering. I saw Pablo again only at the gathering, he was in the other class. He messaged me, asking if I wanted to go together. I replied no. I chose a seat far from Pablo. Just as I was about to sit down, the homeroom teacher called me over. "Lisa is my proudest student, she must sit next to me." Then he sighed. "Too bad Bruno isn't here, otherwise one on each side, my 2 guardians." As soon as he said that, the whole room burst into teasing. Everyone except our teacher had clearly seen Bruno's official relationship post. I was so embarrassed I covered my face and didn't dare look up. Just then the class monitor walked in from the entrance, smiling. "Who said Bruno isn't here? How could the top-scoring couple of our class ever be separated?" The teasing got even louder. I turned in disbelief. 5 minutes ago, Bruno had texted telling me he was at home in the neighboring city playing video games, and now he was leaning against the doorway, head tilted, smiling at me. After that, the conversation at the table completely shifted. Some asked how Bruno managed to win me over. Some joked we must have secretly dated back in school. Someone who got drunk even blurted out, asking whether I wasn't the closest with Pablo before. I smiled and explained. We were just childhood friends. Bruno had drunk a little and leaned softly on my shoulder, playing cute. If a one-sided crush counts as early romance, then I've been passionately in love for many, many years. At the table, everyone was laughing. Everyone except Pablo, whose expression was dark, completely out of place. After the gathering ended, I went to the restroom. When I came out, Pablo was leaning against the restroom doorway, smoking, looking unusually lonely. I walked past him. Pablo's voice suddenly sounded behind me. "You saw me kneeling at home last time, didn't you? Growing up, I could never compare to you. That's why they punish me like that." He let out a self-mocking laugh, his voice hoarse. "Lisa, the fact that you liked me, that was my only worth, and I lost it." Pablo took a step toward me, as if wanting to grab my arm. I instinctively stepped back, and was pulled straight into Bruno's arms as he approached. "What you threw away." Bruno tightened his hold on my shoulders. "I'll treasure like gold," he added, possessive and calm. "Pablo, stay away from my girlfriend from now on. Our car's almost here. We're not going your way, bye." I turned with Bruno and walked off. Never look back. Never. When we stepped out of the hotel entrance, it was completely empty. No car anywhere. So we simply held hands and started wandering aimlessly down the street. Under the streetlights, our shadows stretched long and thin, then short and stubby, like 2 old men. Bruno brushed his thumb over the back of my hand, carrying a hint of drunkenness, almost deliberately acting spoiled. "Look at us, homeless in North City. What do we do?" I tightened my grip on his hand, gave it a little shake, and smiled at him. "I'll take you home."